Hi, my crochet rock stars. It's Lynn with Curiosity Crochet. Today, we're going to put together this really pretty hat. It's got a cute little brim, and if you notice, it kind of goes on a slant, and it's the way we're going to do it that makes it like that. I'll walk you through it. And then the pattern's real fun, too. It's real cute. It goes in the round real nice. And then the pom-pom's optional. I put a fur one on this time, and I always attach mine. I sew a little button on in the inside, and I attach the elastic. I put the elastic around it so it's removable then. So whoever has the hat can take it off and wash it. Makes it real nice. They do make fur pom-poms with the clasp. You know, it's like magnetic. I have some white ones like that, but I have a lot with the elastic, and it just makes it nice. Or you can make a yarn pom-pom and attach it however you'd like. It's totally up to you. For this hat, I'm using a 5-weight yarn. Because like I always tell you guys, you can use any weight yarn for any of these hats. You just have to keep it in the multiples and make sure that your length is the length of whatever head you're making it for. Generally 21, 22 inches. Men sometimes are a little bit bigger because they got them big heads. Children smaller, obviously. This is James C. Brett Highlander and Paint Box. Paint Box is one of my favorites, and I get this from Love Crafts. They're one of my favorite to order from because their yarn's pretty inexpensive. These recommend 6mm, but I'm gonna use a 5 and a 5.5 for these, just because I like to keep it a little bit snugger. So I'll use the 5 for the brim, the 5.5 for the top, and then towards the top, sometimes I bring it back down to the 5 so that it brings it in real nice, and then it just looks really cute. You don't have to do that. It's totally up to you. So, yeah. So, whatever weight you're using. Oh, if you're going to use a 4 weight, my recommendation is to use 4.5 and 5, because that's generally what I use for 4 weight, unless it's on the thicker side of 4 where it's closer to 5, then you can use the 5 and 5.5. That'll work real good too. So let's get our stuff together, our hooks, our scissors, our tape measure, and we will get going with this. Okay, we're gonna start with the brim, like I pretty much always do. I don't really make a lot of top down beanies. Most of mine are from the bottom up. I like them better. I think I have more control over making the hat the right size that way. Because when you start at the top, you have to start small and increase to get to the size you need. And me personally, I don't work that well with that way. So for the most part, if you're making hats with me, we're always going to make them from the bottom up. So for this brim, what we're going to do is we are going to chain 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 11. Now what we're going to do is in the second chain from the hook, not this one, but this one, we're going to put a half double crochet in there. And in every chain across, we're going to do a half double. So yarn over, go in that next stitch, pull up a loop, and then pull through all 3 of those loops. That's your half double. So we're going to do that all the way across.
I broke the game.
Sorry if there's ever any noise in the background. I have mentioned before I have a small house, and right now I record in the kitchen because it's the best place for me at the table. And I have a 16-year-old son who sits right here next to me. So once we get to the end, we are going to chain 1. This is where we're going to switch it up a little bit because this is going to be a little bit different. What we're going to do is in the first stitch, we're going to single crochet in both loops. We're going to go through that whole thing. Single crochet. Now, we're going to do back loop only. So not through both, not in this front one here, but in this back loop here, we're going to do a single crochet through it. And we're going to do that until we get to the last stitch. And we're going to do what we did for the first stitch. We're going to go through both loops at the end. So the first and the last stitch, you go through both loops. But in the middle, we're doing back loops. So basically, it's 8 back loops in the middle. So you're doing 1 both loops in the beginning, 1 both loops at the end, and 8 back loops in the middle. So now every other row is going to be like that. You're going to do half double crochet for 1 row. You're going to do single crochet for 1 row. And you're going to do it like this one, where it's 8 back loop, 2 both loop. So now you've done your single crochet row. We're going to do the half double. So you still just chain 1 because we don't need any extra stitches. And you're going to do that yarn over, go through both loops, pull up the loop, pull through all 3. And now we're going to do the back loops. So you're going to yarn over, go through that back loop, pull up a loop, pull through all 3. And then just repeat that down. Until you get to the end where you'll do that last stitch in both loops. The reason I do that when I do these kind of brims is because it leaves the ends looking a little bit nicer instead of pulling on that back loop on each side, because then it's easier to work into when you start the top part of the hat, and it leaves the other side looking nice for the band. So it just works really nice. So there we go, back both loops on that last one. And then you're going to do the single crochet row, exactly the same. Then half double, then single. And what it does is it gives you this really nice, like, angled look. You can't see it on this one, but I'll show you. You can kind of see it kind of angles a little bit. So it gives just a little bit of personality, you know? I'm actually going to throw together a little cheap brim real quick, and then I'll meet you guys back, and just make sure, make sure how many ever rows you do is a multiple of 2. So you're going to get to your 21, 22 inches, but make sure it's a multiple of 2 so that it works for the top part of the hat. So let me throw together my little chintzy small brim, and when you guys get your brim part done, I'll show you how to attach it, and then we'll go from there. Okay, real quick, when you guys get your amount of rows done that you need, and it's a multiple of 2, remember, I'm going to show you how to attach the ends real quick on this small thing, because I'm going to use something different that I can put together real quick. So what you want to do is you want to flip it so that your loop you are working with is in this corner back here. And you're going to bring it together this way. And you're going to go into this first chain here, and you're going to grab that loop, and you are going to pull it through this way and chain 1. Now go right back into that same chain that we went into, and then you want to go into your first stitch on this side, pull through a loop, and slip stitch it. but not split your yarn like Miss Linny just did here. Then you go into your next chain and go into the next stitch and slip stitch that. And you're literally just going to do that all the way down until it's attached. All the way to the end. And when you get to the end, you will be on one side. I'll show you here. Let me get to the end here. And you had 10 stitches, so you should have 10 slip stitches. Makes that nice and easy. You get that through that last stitch there without getting it all caught. This yarn splits a little bit, so I have my own set of issues. But when you get here, you're gonna chain one, and then let me get to the next part and I'll show you where we're gonna go with that. Okay, so you guys will be here and you're gonna stay attached, but we're gonna switch our hook size here. We're gonna go to our bigger hook size now. And for this first row, this is part of the repeat, we're just gonna do single crochets in every stitch. So you guys are gonna do it in your rows. So each row, I'm gonna try and show you this. Each row you can kind of tell where they are, especially since we did single and half double. So you've got a row here, you've got a row here, you've got a row here and a row here. So you just want to put one single in every single row. And if you kept track of how many rows, which you should have, because you have to have multiples of 2, you'll have the same amount of single crochets that you did rows, sorry. And one other thing, before you get going, make sure you turn your band inside out so that this slip stitch is backwards, because then it kind of makes it look like there's no seam. See how that works? It looks like it works all together. So make sure you flip it inside out before you get going, and then just grab it and start at your first row and start putting single crochets in. So like on mine, I did it on a small so that I could get you guys to the next part of the pattern, or else that would have taken me a little while. And I'm trying to get this up for you guys because I haven't put a video up in a while. But as long as you end with a multiple of 2 and you've got it in every row that you've done, you'll be gravy, because that's all we need. That is all we need. So let me get these single crochets done. And remember, this is one row of the repeat. This is your first row of repeat. And you do want to keep it the same color for now. We'll change colors when we come back up around. Okay? So get those single crochets done and I'll meet you back. Okay, once we come up to the end here, and like I said, you'll have as many single crochets as rows as you had. We are going to change colors here. And I'm just looking at my notes, guys, sorry. So we're going to change colors here. So instead of slip stitching with the same color, we're going to start the slip stitch and we're going to bring in our other color, whatever colors you guys are using. And you're going to just grab the new one and pull it through. Pull those tight, and we are going to start with a chain 3 here. So we're going to 1, 2, 3. Now, in that very, and you don't detach the other color, because you're just going to keep flip-flopping between these two colors, so it's easier just to keep it attached, and you can pull it up to the next row. I'll show you when we get there. But I always like doing the first stitch or 2 over both of these so that I make sure it's, well, this one to crochet it in and this one to make sure it stays put. So what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over, and we're going to go in that same stitch we slip stitched into, and we're going to pull up a loop. Now we're going to yarn, don't finish it, just leave it on there, yarn over, go in the very next stitch, pull up a loop. You're going to go in, you're going to yarn over and go into the third stitch, pull up a loop, and you're going to pull through all of those loops. You'll have 7 loops. You're going to pull through. And now you're going to chain 2. And now drop that other color for sure, because you don't want it to get too far. Now what we're going to do is, in that last stitch you worked in is going to be the first stitch you work in this time. So you're going to yarn over and go into that stitch and pull up a loop. Now you're going to go into the next 2 and do like you did the first time. So you're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop. You'll have 7 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're going to pull through all 7 and chain 2. And then you're just going to repeat that. So remember, you're starting in the last one you worked in. So the last is the first. So you're going to yarn over and go in there and pull up a loop. And then the next 2 stitches are what you're going to work in now. So you're going to go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, and then pull through all 7 of those loops, chain 2. I'll show you one more time, and then you're going to repeat it around. You're going to yarn over and go in that last stitch worked. So last is first. I know you'll never hear that again, but last is first, ladies and gentlemen. Then we're going to work in the next 2. We're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop. You'll have 7, pull through all 7, chain 2. And that's what you'll have. So do that all the way around, and I'll meet you back, and we'll bring in the other color again. Okay, now when you come up to the end of this round, you're going to notice there's 1 stitch left, if we got our multiples correct. Now, when you finish this one, instead of chaining 2, you're only going to chain 1, and we're going to put a half double crochet in this last stitch to finish it off. And then we're going to slip stitch right to the top of this little cluster here. Now you can either do it in the top of this chain 3, because it really, it does and it doesn't, like, because we worked right into the same stitch here. So if you work here, we're going to start right there anyways. The chain 3, you could attach it there and then start working. It doesn't matter in the least. So wherever you feel comfortable attaching it, you attach it. Oh, but we're going to change colors, so don't attach it with that color. Go in, and then see how, because we left this hanging, it's right here for us. We're just going to grab it and slip stitch with that one. Now what we're going to do is just chain 1. And we are going to do the first row of the repeat now. We're just going to do single crochet around. But we have to do this a little bit different because we have clusters now. So we have to do, we're going to do 1 single in this first stitch. And then we're going to do 2 in every single one of these chain 2 spaces. So we do 1 in that first stitch, and then we do 2 in the chain space, in every chain space, until we get around. And you should end up with the same amount of stitches that you started with. And the reason why we end up with 1 stitch at the end is because when we start this round, we start with 3 instead of 2. So that's an extra 1 there. So you have 1 there and 1 at the, you have 1 here and 1 here. So it balances out, and you can't really see it in the hat when you get done. So just 2 single crochets in every chain 2 space. I'll just go all the way around with you guys since I have such a small baby doll. I'm gonna be raking in the dough with baby doll hats with the way I do these videos for you guys. The other one, the last one I did was so cute. Okay, then when we come back around, we are going to slip stitch right into the top of that first, but we're going to bring up our other color again. Well, if I could grab it, we would. Drop that other color, it makes it easier. And then you can pull it tight. I grabbed the wrong one. Wouldn't you love that? Good Lord, you guys. I grabbed the tail end of that other one. Whoo! I know I cannot be the only one who does stuff like that every once in a while. I cannot be the only one. So now again, we're going to start with our chain 3. And just like this row here, we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to yarn over and go in that first stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the second, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through that third one. See, that's where we create that extra stitch. Pull through, chain 2. And then remember, last is first. Remember, last is first. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop. Do that in the next 2. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop. And then pull through all 7, chain 2. So that is what we are going to repeat. We are going to repeat single crochet row and cluster row. Single crochet row, cluster row, just over and over. So remember, you're only chaining 1 for the single crochet row, and you're doing 1 in the beginning, 2 in every chain 2 space. And okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to repeat the single crochet row and the cluster row over and over again till you get it to the length you want it to be. For small, tight little beanies, I usually do it about 6 inches high. 6 to 7. You wanted a little bit of room in there. 7 to 8. Start getting a little slouchy around 8. And anywhere between 8 and 10 is super slouchy. So, because we still have to do a little bit of decreasing. So you don't want to go crazy unless you want like a super crazy slouchy. Make it however high you want to. I want you to be happy with it. I did this one. This one I did before the decreasing. The decreasing starts about there. So I did this one about 7 inches before I started doing the decreases. And there's a little bit of room on the top, but I have a tiny little head, so everybody's different. So I want you to make it for whoever you're making it for. So go ahead and do all those rounds, and then we'll meet back up and I'll show you how to do the decreases. Okay, when you guys get your rounds all done as high as you want it to be, we are going to leave your main color on one more time. But we're not, and make sure you end in a single crochet row, because it just makes the decreases a little bit easier. And this is going to be a nice easy decrease. So we're going to change it to that main color one last time. I almost grabbed the wrong one again, you guys, because I'm just like that. Okay. And now we are just going to chain 1. And we are going to single crochet ourselves all the way around in this color. So it's just going to be another row of single crochet for now. Just in a different color. Then we're going to switch back to the secondary color and finish up with that. So then the brim and the top kind of match. So see, you can see the brim and the top. There's the brim, and then you've got a nice little patch of the brown on top there. So that's how we're going to finish it off. So just finish this row of single crochet all the way around. And I'll meet you back up and we'll switch colors one last time, okay? Okay, now that we've come around, we're going to switch colors one last time. We're going to put it back to that secondary color. We're going to chain one. Now you can cut this other color off because we're done with that. So you can just get that out of your way. And we are going to start the decrease now. So right back into that same stitch, we're going to do one single crochet. We're going to do one in the next. And then we are going to do a decrease over the next two. I like doing the invisible decrease, which is you go in this front loop of the first one, wrap your hook, come back down, and go through the front loop of that second one. Pull loop through and finish your single crochet. Now if you don't want to do it that way, you can do a regular single crochet decrease. It's totally up to you. So now we're going to repeat that. We're going to put one in the next two, one single in the next two, and then we're going to do our decrease over the next two. And that's what we're going to repeat around. So one single in the next two, and then one decrease over the next two. Okay, so repeat that around, and when you get to the end, because everybody will have different multiples, if you have a couple extra stitches left over, just put single crochets in them. We're just doing decreases, so it doesn't matter at this point. Your stitch count at this point does not matter. So finish that up and I'll meet you back. Okay, and then when you come up to the end, now we're not switching colors anymore, so just slip stitch into the top of that first single crochet and do your chain one. And now for this row, we're going to go right back into that same stitch and do one single crochet, and then we're going to do our decrease over the next two. So the repeat this row is one single crochet and a decrease over the next two. So one single crochet and then one decrease over the next two. One single by itself and then one decrease over the next two. Okay, so repeat that around and then I'll meet you back. Okay, so for this final round, whatever you want to call it. Technically it's a round since we're working on a hat, we're working in circles. We're going to slip stitch into that first single again, and then we are going to chain one, and we are going to simply decrease in every stitch now for this last row. Go into that first one that we slip stitched into and the next one and decrease them together, and then just do that all the way around. Take two together all the way around. I'm just gonna go around here, and like I said, if you have extra stitches left over, just put a single crochet in there. It's not gonna hurt anything. You don't need a specific stitch count here. Now, if I went too fast with anything on this video, or I didn't explain things well enough, let me know in the comments down below, because I can always make changes. It's easy, because I'd rather make sure you guys can do the stuff along with me. So once you get to the end, then you're gonna slip stitch into that first single crochet. And now a little trick I like to do is pull this up a little bit and go behind that next stitch and come through. Grab your loop that you were working with, pull it through to the inside, chain one, and then leave yourself a long enough string to cinch up that little hole that's left. And now that's on the inside instead of it being on the outside. I think it makes it nice and clean that way. Now, the finishing is totally up to you because it is your hat. I always turn it inside out to cinch it up. I just think it makes it look nicer. Whether I'm putting a pom-pom on or not, I still do. So just thread up your needle. And then you're going to go in and out of every stitch. So you're going to go in that one you ended on. You're going to go in there, and then you're going to come out the next. So you're just basically going around that post there and then pulling it through. Now don't go back in that when you came out. Jump to the next stitch and go around the next post and pull it tight. Now mine is small, so it's coming together fairly quickly. Yours will be a little bit more. And then just do that all the way around till you get to the end and pull it nice and tight. And then I just like to go back and forth a couple times across so that it holds it nice and tight. And then I go through one last time and I put my needle through this loop that's left and pull that tight so it gives it a little bit of a secure knot there. And then just sew in your end. And you will have a completed hat. Now, like I said, if you want to put a pom-pom on yours, that would be great. It looks really nice with a pom-pom. You saw mine. I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me. I'm sure you guys know how to sew in your ends. But with a pom-pom, without a pom-pom, it still looks nice. I hope yours turned out really nice. You guys, I would love for you to check out Curiosity Crochet on Facebook, and you can always post pictures of anything you've made along with me. I'd love to see what you guys have made, how they've turned out, if I'm explaining things correctly for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The more subscribers I have, the more I'll be able to make more and more videos. And I will be doing another hat video here in the next couple days of a brand new one I just came up with. And I hope you'll like that one too. So you guys have a great day.